Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for another fireside chat here with AnyRoad with one of our amazing partners and the CEO of a beverage company, a unique beverage company. I'll actually let him introduce himself and talk a little bit about his brand. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you. Great to be with you here, Brian. Peter, I'm the co-founder and the CEO of 1906. We are one of the leading cannabis edibles company in the market. We were started 10 years ago with the belief and the thesis that as legalization expands, more and more consumers are going to come into the market for whom cannabis is not about smoking and not about getting high. It's about using it as an alternative to alcohol and pharmaceuticals and how you manage the demands of daily life. And we really created the category of functional cannabis, low dose, controlled dose products that deliver a specific effect and that are fast acting. So we've been around for 10 years now, and first in the dispensary markets all across the country. Then we launched our direct to consumer business about a little less than 2 years ago. And in the last few weeks, we just launched our beverage product into the liquor retail channel. So we look at it as cannabis can be used, like I said, as an alternative to alcohol and pharmaceuticals. And that's the sector that we're focused on. We like to think of ourselves as cannabis for control freaks. And there are a lot of control freaks out there.
Definitely. I appreciate the spin on it being obviously like a consumer packaged goods product. It's a cannabis product, it's a beverage product, and you're attracting different audiences with all of those things. So when you think about this expansion from if you think about it in that capacity as expansion from your original edible product that was available in dispensaries to a beverage product that's now in kind of mainstream retail outlets, what do you think it's going to take for you to start pulling that market share away from people that are walking into a Bevmo, a Total Wine, and those types of retailers for an alcoholic option and instead walking out with a cannabis option?
Yeah. First off, there's the consumer demand is already there, right? We know from all the stats across all age groups, whether it be 25 or 75, that adults are looking to reduce their alcohol consumption for all the reasons that we know, whether it be sugar, whether it be how it makes you feel the next day. There is a secular reduction in alcohol use. That is not going to change. What people are looking for, however, is still to have that feeling of reduced anxiety, taking the edge off, and a reduction in social inhibition. So the issue right now today is that many of the, products that are out there, like non-alc beer or just mocktails, they only satisfy one part of the equation, which is yes, I'm healthier maybe, but I'm not feeling the way I want to feel. And that's where I think cannabis beverages are why we've seen an explosion. If you think about it, Brian, we have three legal psychoactives or intoxicants: nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol. And two out of those three of them are in a liquid. So we as adults, as consumers, as Americans, are used to consuming a beverage that creates a psychoactive effect. So it makes sense that cannabis beverages would be appealing to large swaths of consumers.
Yeah. I mean, you said something there that piqued my interest around the different stimulants or additives that can be consumed in different ways, right? And the category of functional beverage is exploding right now, right? Whether you're talking about things with caffeine or things with even nicotine, right? Everything seems to be drinkable these days. So when you think about functional beverages, like is that is that a competitor to you? Do you feel like there's a landscape where you're both competing with the alcoholic beverage, those folks that are sitting down and having a cocktail at dinner or going to a sporting event and going to a vendor and grabbing a beverage that is cannabis infused, but at the same time, having those people that are going out and looking for something that they're for their wellness, for their
Yeah.
health and wellness.
I don't think of it so much as competitors. It's more, complementary, which is how is it you want to feel at what point in the day. Some people want to start off the day with a cup of coffee, a caffeine. an energy drink, our Go products, for instance. So I think it's all very mutually beneficial to give consumers choice as to how it is. Because the first question or the first inclination is, how do I want to feel? And that's the kind of primary driver, I think, of consumer choice first, then second, flavor and all the other things. But typically it's about how I want to feel first. Hydrated, caffeinated, inebriated, whatever it might be. And from there you kind of drive into the next layer of, well, what's the product that's going to fit the bill there?
Interesting. So why not an RTD and instead like a spirit? Would you call it a spirit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Why not an RTD? Why did you do spirits instead of RTDs?
A couple of reasons. One is the RTD space is really saturated right now. You have hundreds of brands in a canned seltzer with different flavors, different milligrams in a different package. And look, the RTD market is great. It just it fills a particular gap, right? I have to be at home or I have to get it refrigerated. I have to be okay with advertising to everybody. I'm drinking this can and everybody knows what it is I'm drinking. And so that fills a particular niche. The way we were looking at it is that there are two other very large occasions where one is I'm on the go and I don't want to carry a cold can around. And that's where our off duty product, which is a snap product that you can just pop into any drink and turn it into a cannabis cocktail. So I think of that as that's your on the go drink. I may be at a restaurant, I may be at a bar, I may be at a social event or something else like that. And off duty it fulfills that need better than anything else. It's calorie free, it's sugar free, it's got no flavor, it's discreet, it's portable. You can fit it anywhere that you want. Then the second occasion is like at home or at the bar. And for me, I'm a New Yorker. I'm more of a cocktail drinker than I am an RTD or beer drinker. I like certain drinks, my spicy margarita. I like other drinks. And at least for me, I want to have that same flavor or drink profile just without the alcohol. And that's why we launched 1906 Spirits is to fill that gap of people who want to be able to have complete control over what type of drink that they have, what the potency is. I'm not just relegated to one particular can. And also because the spirits is flavorless, we say tastes like nothing, mixes with everything. You have the ultimate control and flexibility. Like said earlier on, we're all about cannabis for control freaks. So being able to have that control of dosage, being able to have that control of drink, being able to have that discretion, there is, we think, the interesting part of the market. And frankly, the economics of the RTD market are also more challenged. So one was from a consumer perspective, there's a ton out there that are filling a need. And second, just from a economic perspective, moving cans or moving water all around the country is expensive. And so we're focusing on that white space on the go, at the bar, or at home.
Got it. Super interesting. When you think about the patchwork of state regulations, federal regulations, always continuously evolving. I, in fact, just got back from Chicago last night and I was in this, if anybody is familiar with Foxtrot, it's like a
Yeah.
bodega, but like high end experience. And much to my surprise, I went into the refrigerated section and there was two full refrigerators of THC beverages. And I was like, oh, wow, like this is just a standard street corner, retail experience. And here it is. So, talk to me about your go-to-market strategy, right? I know you're testing in New Jersey, right? Or at least that's your launch space for right now. How are you navigating some of that go-to-market marketing and sales?
Yeah. I mean, you're right to point the cannabis market, particularly on the dispensary side, is a confusing mess of different regulatory regimes, and that's what makes it hard to scale in the dispensary environment because what you make in that state can only be sold in that state. So the hemp beverages opens up a whole new market of being able to manufacture more efficiently and distribute across the different states. Now, just like liquor has different distribution models in each market, The same is true for the THC hemp beverage space. In New Jersey, it's sold, predominantly in liquor stores. In some markets, you could find it like at grocery stores and convenience shops. So there's still going to be a ever evolving patchwork of state by state regulations, but trust me, it's way easier than the dispensary market. In terms of our experience, we grew pretty rapidly from 2020 to 2023 in the dispensary market. We opened up 11 different markets, and we realized like not every market performs as well as you might think. And we had to close down 5 markets that didn't perform well. So we've learned. And now we're taking a go deep before wide strategy, because what we found, Brian, is at least for 1906, it's easy to get on the shelf. People know us. We're a nationally recognized brand. We have a differentiated offer. So getting on the shelf, not a problem at all. Staying on the shelf and driving velocity, that requires more effort. And from our learnings, where frankly we expanded too fast, and we couldn't sustain such a wide distribution without a lot more capital that just wasn't available in the industry. So now we're learning, and we took those learnings like, let's go deep. We want to be the number one, number two spirits in New Jersey, and then start to expand in other markets in a more thoughtful way. So I think some of the best markets in the US when it comes to beverages include New Jersey, Tennessee, Texas, Florida, Illinois, Georgia, the Carolinas, Wisconsin. I'm sure I'm leaving some off, but that's our approach. And then in each market with a target goal of being the number one, number two beverage in the categories that we participate in first before expanding deeply. You asked what's our go-to market strategy. So first is getting on the shelf. That hasn't been an issue. Like, we launched our beverage 3 weeks ago in New Jersey, and we're ready in close to 125 different retail locations in just the first 3 weeks. And why is that? We have a differentiated product. We're also a known brand. So getting on the shelf has been easy. Getting off the shelf and driving velocity, that's where it's a combination of having really good visual merchandising. And we're known as one of the best in terms of visual merchandising and how we show up on the store. Second is consumer engagement, whether it be through tastings or point of sale rebates. You got to bring liquid to lips, and that's a core part of our strategy and why we're working with AnyRoad.
So that's a great segue into how important the idea of experiential marketing and shopper marketing is in your go-to-market strategy for this new beverage offering, and how it maybe differs in this hemp-derived retail experience versus the cannabis experience within a dispensary.
Totally. I mean, I think it's two things. One, you can't really do any samplings or tastings at cannabis dispensaries, so pop-ups are largely educational. They tend to have a low ROI. A lot of people coming in for flower. So dispensary pop-ups work in a very limited case set. Doing pop-ups and tastings and experiential in a liquor store has the potential to be a lot greater ROI. Number one, you just have more people. More people are walking into a liquor store, and there are more liquor stores than are going to a dispensary. Number two, what I found, really interesting, and I learned this, we did our first pop-up when we launched Off Duty. We did a tasting at South by Southwest. And one of the things I was struck by is the willingness of people to try something in a beverage format. If I went up to, in a store or retail environment, I said, "Hey, would you like to have a puff of this joint? Or would you like to take a gummy," for instance? People are going to be a lot more circumspect around it. But when offered a drink, what we found is that the willingness to at least try orders of magnitude higher than any other form of cannabis consumption. So that liquid to lips is a way to engage new customers into the fold. It's way more experiential than other cannabis products there. So that is a core part of how we show up in stores, and also how we drive engagement and velocity from customers. And what's great about the AnyRoad platform is that coupled with here's a tasting, you can try it, you can get engaged, then being able to offer a point of sale rebate, or sorry, a rebate at that point of sale without having to go through a point of sale system, total game changer.
Yeah, I obviously I agree. Obviously, like that's the sentiment that we have around the product that we offer. And when you think of these incentives, right? When you think of data capture, first party data capture, and why you decided that it was so important to have that mechanism there versus I talk to a lot of business owners that liquid to lips matters, right? Like get the can in the hand, right? And turn can love into brand love. And as many people that will taste the product, the more people will buy the product. But often I have to do some convincing and saying, like, it's not a spray and pray, right? You have to know your audience. You have to gather the intelligence. You have to get the feedback. Like, why was it important to you for you to get marketing opt-ins, for you to be able to gather that first party data, maybe agnostic of the incentive? Or
Yeah.
maybe they're inextricably connected, like you tell me.
Look, I think they're inextricably connected. If you think about what do we give our emails or our phone number, right? You go to a website now on direct to consumer and everybody's like, get 10% off if you give me your email address. So we are, as consumers, we're selling our identity, or we're selling ourselves. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the truth. So this is now a well-known consumer phenomena and pattern, and so it's taking the learnings from D2C, where get 10% off if you give me your email address. Well, let's bring that from online to the offline world. Get $5 off if you give me your email address. Great. And guess what? Consumers are willing to do that because they see the value in that exchange. So you get a couple things. You get just more engagement because when you're at that tasting, then that person is coming up and they're filling out a form and they're engaged and they're in front of you. So that gives you an education opportunity. Second is now you've captured their information so you can develop the relationship with them. I know that this person gave me their email address at Bourbon Street in Califon. So you can do much better micro targeting, for instance. And then it encourages them. It's a great convenience for them also because of the way in which that rebate works. Oh, really? All I have to do is just text you my receipt and I get the money right away. Wow, that is a game changer.
Yeah. Do you differentiate maybe between shopper marketing and some of those high trafficked areas where there's intent to buy on-prem versus like you mentioned South by Southwest as an example, sporting events as an example, maybe even like bars and restaurants as an example, like other points of consumption?
We've been focused so far, we're only a few weeks in. So right now we've been focused on the in-store retail experience, but I see this opening up to lots of different places, like you just mentioned, whether it be on-prem, whether it be events or other places like that, where you can bring the liquid to the consumer. What's great about and then what's great about that is, okay, you can meet somebody at a sporting event, capture their information, and then when they go out to buy, they'll still get that $5 off. So it's a really nice feedback loop. Otherwise, if you had the old Red Bull strategy of just, okay, I'm going to give out a ton of Red Bulls at different sporting events, which worked great for them, but you don't know anything anymore about that customer. So this gives us the ability to, okay, which events did well in terms of driving customer engagement, defined by collection of email addresses, and post purchase. If I did an event at at some sporting event, for instance, and we gave out hundreds of drinks, I have no idea how many of those people then went out to buy, and I can't stay in touch with them also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
It's like,
and yeah,
yeah, hey, it was nice to see you, a couple days ago. By the way, here's our store locator so you could find a store that's near you. By the way, just a reminder, you got $5 off. So that ability to have that life cycle marketing is huge benefit.
so who would you say it can be beverage, it can be CPG, it could be apparel, it could be anybody. Who would you say is doing this really well? Like what brands are executing that flywheel of marketing, doing the experiential component, whether it be a rebate strategy, whether it be an event strategy, are there like, is there a Mount Rushmore that you have of folks that of brands that are doing this well?
Honestly, but like I haven't seen anybody do it well. Have you?
I mean, to here and there, right? Like there are those that, in my opinion, have done a really great job capitalizing on in real life marketing due to the noise and crowded space that is digital. You've got to be really unique to capture mind share when it comes to being in this little box on your phone or on a computer. But if you can be in the right spaces and places
Yeah,
and ensure that your product is best represented there, that's what translates to digital. If you're
yes,
starting with digital, I think that you're probably not getting the best return on your ad spend. But if you're
yep,
starting with experiential and translating that to digital, there's some really cool brands that are doing some really cool things. I think a one that does it really well, that does it really in an interesting way is if you're familiar with Liquid Death.
yeah. Okay, great.
They're stunt. I do. Some people might call them stunts, right?
Yeah,
Like they have these. Red Bull did it too, and Red Bull did it in their own way, and they were kind of innovative in that way that they started doing it a long time ago. But I think in this day and age, starting with experiential in real life, captivating audiences in the places that they will be physically is how to win in digital as well. So that's my shtick. Without naming names, without picking my favorites within our
oh,
portfolio.
that's great. Yeah, the Red Bull, Liquid Death. I mean, those are iconic brands because of how they've been able to engage consumers in an interesting way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a little bit of like outside of the bev alc space. There's also a lot of outdoor sporting goods, apparel that are doing a really great experiential because the product that they offer is something that needs to be used, right? Whether it
Yeah,
be hiking or running or swimming or whatever it is, you're it's like almost like trialing the product out in the field and using that as the mechanism to bring people into the portfolio. So I think that there's plenty of ways to do it, and utilizing your ability to be in front of the consumer at any given point outside of a digital journey is really, really important. And you mentioned those spaces and places, like it hasn't been hard to get on the shelves. Is there a distribute? Is there a, how do you navigate distribution with like Southern Glazers and like the typical alcohol distributors? Are you engaged with them? Are they engaged with you? Is that how you're getting these things on the shelves, even though it's not a true alcoholic spirit?
yeah, absolutely. The liquor distributors, thank God for them that they have embraced the market. So we're with Fedway and their Next Wave division in New Jersey. Fedway is the number one wine and spirits distributor in the state of New Jersey, and they are fabulous partners to us. Number one, they already have the distribution. I mean, that's the beauty of the beverage in the liquor space because they know how to distribute, tax, and age gate a 21 a 21 plus year old product. Like we've created this whole crazy infrastructure for dispensaries to service a 21 plus market when there's one that already exists for distribution, for collecting taxes, for age gating, like all the things that you want, it's already built in. So that ability to just plug and play into Fedway or anybody else's distribution network is a game changer for the market. Also, frankly, we know that the regulatory environment and the political environment is a big driver of the success and growth of this industry. And the cannabis industry will never have the weight and the power that restaurants, bars, liquor stores, liquor distributors, brand companies like Diageo have. And the long term success and health of this industry is about having a stable regulatory regime that's well taxed, that has the support of government, that has the support of policymakers. So we're entering into an exciting area where finally, like cannabis can be mainstreamed. And mainstream means it's available in convenience stores or liquor stores or all the, don't make me have to go out of my way.
Yeah. Where do you see the intersection of these large entities? You mentioned Diageo as one of them. Some bigger alcohol players are already dabbling a little bit in cannabis, whether it be through acquisition or through verticalization. Like, tell me a little bit about your experience, if you had any, in engaging with, interacting with, or collaborating with these larger entities.
Well, I would say, our experience has been focused on the retail and the distributor experience. And it's been great, in part because they need cannabis. Like, in some stores, up to 15% of their sales are now being generated by THC hemp derived beverages. 15%, like the entire wine category for many of these stores is probably 20 to 25%. So it was zero 2 years ago. So to go, if you're a liquor store owner or chain, now to have 15% of your revenue come from THC beverages, you've now helped dull the impact of the reduction in liquor.
That's staggering. That is a staggering number.
15%, like that is huge, and we're just at the beginning. This is nowhere, who knows what that saturation point will be, but I think liquor is going to be liquor, and liquor stores and liquor distribution is number one, is going to be the way in which most consumers discover cannabis. Number two, it's going to be the economic savior of two industries, the alcohol industry and the cannabis industry as well. So we're all in. I mean, we love the dispensary market, and that's an important place. If you need education, you're buying higher potency products, you're a regular cannabis consumer, like the dispensary market is critical for serving the needs of those consumers, for giving them the opportunity to shop and educate. And that's why we love being in both. Like, we're one of the top brands in New Jersey dispensary. And that's why we've also had so much success in the first 3 weeks in the liquor retailers, is because people know us. Oh my God, I know you from, this dispensary, whether it be the liquor store owners or the consumers as well. So I like to think of it as like our omni-channel approach gets to surround sound the customer and meet them where they are. Instead of trying to force them into a particular way in which they purchase, we get to be agnostic and be like, where do you want to shop? Where do you want to get us? Will be available.
I mean, it's not just the percentages that you threw out are not only staggering, but I think the contextual element of how much shelf space you're getting also makes it even more wild, considering the fact that wine has more shelf space, significantly more shelf space, but only getting 8 to 10% more
Yep.
of the revenue attribution. So super fascinating. What is your expectation or vision in terms of like a 1 year horizon? Are you getting is the hemp derived cannabis product industry getting more shelf space in these liquor stores? Is it just expanding its footprint into different states where it was previously highly regulated? Like, what do you foresee happening in by the end of 2026? Maybe.
you know, uh, Predictions are not worth much, as
Very
you know. And if somebody told me 5 years ago that 1906 or THC beverages would be widely available in liquor stores, I'd be like, no way. Like, that is years away. And then if somebody said even a year and a half ago that there would be 10% of a liquor store dedicated to, or even 5% of a liquor store square footage dedicated to beverages, I'd also be like, kind of, no way. So, but what's clear is that this is all driven by consumer demand. Like, if the consumers weren't buying it and asking for it, then retailers wouldn't be dedicating the shelf space. Then distributors wouldn't be making space on their trucks to do so. So I think a year from now, we'll definitely see like more and more growth in the liquor retail space. Where it's going to get really interesting is when on-prem starts to be a factor, because the same dynamics that we're seeing in the liquor store, you're going to see on-premise. Restaurants, a huge portion of their revenue comes from alcohol sales. sporting events and other things like that. A huge portion is that. So that economic pressure from these on-premise establishments, coupled with the fact that I don't actually want to have, 3, 4 drinks at when I go to the Barclays Center, that is going to converge, coupled with kind of the ability to create experiences around it, is going to make for really innovative and interesting ways in which consumers will adopt, experience, imbibe outside.
Interesting. So maybe parting words of wisdom. When you think about launching a new product and you think about the different marketing motions, things like activations, pop-ups, shopper marketing, rebate strategy, like what do you think the catalyst is once the product is on the shelves to get consumers to create that awareness and create that conversion?
I think it's a little early to tell. Part of it is about having a portfolio of strategies to see what works. So I don't think it's any one silver bullet. If you do it all right, that's what makes you a top brand. You get the visual merchandising right, you get the product right, you get then here are the different marketing initiatives that I'm doing. And look, certain markets are going to have different set of dynamics than other markets. So the key is, how do we innovate quickly? How do we learn what works and then be able to double down on that? And how do we then stop doing what doesn't work as well? So it's a little. I don't think we yet have like the playbook, and you may never have the playbook because consumers, environments, and everything else changes. So how do you adapt to it is going to be critical.
I'll say in my own words, maybe selfishly as a representative of AnyRoad, is what I heard you say is you cannot manage what you cannot measure. And if you are going to have a portfolio approach and you're going to execute a flywheel, you cannot do that without understanding what is working and what is not. And largely, it's going to be your conversion metrics and your leading indicators and your engagement metrics and all of the things that measure that campaign strategy. And hopefully, we are helping you with that through the lens of your shopper marketing and your rebate strategy and your first party data collection. And I always appreciate a great conversation with an industry leader. So thank you for your time today, Peter, and best of luck with launching and expanding your new product offering for 1906.
Thank you, Brian. Really appreciate the
Appreciate
time.
it.